Hey everybody, I'm on Facebook, Calvert County's Free Cycle, and on their Southern Maryland crafts, and asking for all the gazebo parts due to wind damage. You can see this damage down on the bottom here. Alright, I was at the Appeal landfill taking my plastics and recycles, dumping those when this weight truck, pickup truck comes up with this in the back, taking it to dump. I said, I want that, and I went over and grabbed it. He gave it to me, and I had to collapse the legs. They were kind of difficult. It has to be lubricated really good, I think. Cleaned up. I want to take the Velcro off and use that for stuff, which I did on this one over here. This is my black one that actually I have on there as a fix, and it didn't last very long. So this is my now my 6x10. It's 10 across the back, 6 coming out on the sides, display for my craft shows. I used the parts over there to actually fit this brand new one, which broke right there, and you can see the black piece in there. That works perfectly. So this one I'm going to actually rip down and build a 8x6, I think it is, which a lot of the craft shows have a 8x6 display. So then probably a 6x4 for another one, you know, when they have the smaller spaces. So I can actually put all my purses, which I have on the ground right there. Okay, those are the things I make, and I hang on the netting, which is right there, that I wrap around it. So I'm going to show you how to actually put one of these together. Now, to do this job, you're going to need a T25 bit, and it's one of those type of bits right there. And you're going to need a 5/13 or 5/16, I think it is. Yeah, 5/16 wrench to hold the nuts. Okay, so these nuts right here is the 5/16. Okay, and that's what these, now some of them are stripped, so you're going to have to angle it to get those things out, and then just toss the stripped ones because you can't use them again. Okay, what I did when this was turned over right side up, I loosened all the bottom ones, and you can see it right there, it's loose. What we want to do is disconnect all this to isolate the center. Okay, I want to show you something though. When you're doing this, you're going to take there's no nut, it's actually built inside. So you're going to take this out and you're going to see a nut fall to the ground. Well, that one didn't fall, but that's fine. So you want to hang on to all the hardware. It's right there, the nut's still inside, but one of them fell to the ground. So you want to keep all the parts because you might be using those some other time. Alright, I'm going to take all the parts off this to use the screws someplace else. It'll probably be used. This piece is going to be trash, just like that piece is going to be trash. So strip out the middle part because you're probably not going to use that again, at least indoors. All right, now before you turn it right side up, go ahead and pull your legs out a little bit and listen to this. I'm moving this up and down. That squeaking right there is rubber, is actually metal hitting metal. It's probably supposed to do that on this model, I'm not sure, but it's awful tough to move. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lubricate up here. And as it goes down, I'm hoping some lubrication will go inside. And you can also spray in the tube that's on top of this. So when you bring this down, you could probably put some lubrication down inside here. All right, all this is WD-40. So we'll see how that works out. It looks like a lot of rust on the screws. All right, so you're going to use the screws that you can keep. You may want to use a brush on some of this, some soap and water to clean first. I'm just dusting it down. It's going to be all indoors from this point on this. No outdoor displays. That's for your big gazebo to actually be doing. So, you know, your pop-up gazebo, like my white one over there. All right, so go ahead and do some cleaning, some lubing. Get as much of the dirt off as you can, and then we're going to turn it right side up and then do some more cleaning and then customize. You know, to put the legs back down, the little pegs that go in here was really hard to push in. So what I'm doing is I'm putting some WD-40 down in there. And if it goes down to the garage floor, you're not going to flood it. You just want those springs to be hit. So just put those down in there and let it sit. If it drains a little bit, that's okay. You're not going to flood it though, otherwise it'll come out the top. I don't even know if the top is open. So go ahead and let it sit for a while. All right, when you pull it out at first, okay, you're going to wipe down as much as you can, even the side that you're going to take off. These things, I don't know why they have them on there, but hey, it doesn't matter how you open this thing up. All right, so I'm going to steam these off or do that goop off stuff to get the sticky thing off. One thing I noticed when you bring these up, where this guy was down is still dirty. So go to each corner and clean them up like I did this one here, just wipe it down. Alright, go to each corner while you're doing it. Next thing to do is take off this Velcro. Velcro has 2 Phillips head screws. All you do is undo those, it unwraps, and that's it. You can sit there in your spare time plucking the hair out, and then you can use the Velcro somewhere else. Okay, after you go around taking the Velcro off, you want to wipe down, and this center one we're not going to use, so we just sit there and wiggle it back and forth, slide it off, and that nut in there you can use again. Alright, so just wipe everything down, get it as clean as you can. We're probably not going to use this one neither, because we're not coming across the front. So just wiggle it back and forth. It should come right off, and it does. So in the front, you're going to do it to both sides. Alright, then just go to the next one. That one's gone. It probably came off with it. Alright, and then this one is right there. So those are off. Save everything. What you don't want is the rusty ones. These are probably the most important thing you need to save, otherwise you go buy some more. So after pulling it all the way out, this is actually an 8x8 gazebo, which kind of messes things up. It's perfect 4 foot right here, which is actually nice. So what I need to do is bring this bar over to here on both sides. That would be great. But the 6 foot back here is in the middle. So I have to engineer something to where these two are like this. So I have to do the scissoring a little bit different, centering everything. So I have to do a little customizing on the scissor action back here, which will take a little time to do because it has to come out to the 4 inches or so that's right here between these two, and then come through, be the same distance here and the same distance there. Only it's got to be here is where the pole has to be. So hey, it just takes a little work. This is where your math comes in. So all you guys in middle school, now is the time to learn. So, but since this is my first one I'm doing, where I'm actually shortening all the sides, I have to sit down and do a drawing. Because right now I thought maybe just cutting this off and trimming these down enough to go in like the end of the ones that came off, how close the hole is to the end. It has to be that way to fit into the other side. So to the end piece. So it has to come down, be cut about that much down. So I use a pencil to mark it, but I'm going to, before I do that, I have to figure out, it's not going to work with just across here. It has to come across to a junction here, back up and across. So I have to make a miniature version of that in a 4 foot area. Okay, so that's where the drawing has to, I have to do it for a 6 foot too. So I'm going to go ahead and collapse this, set it aside so I get my vehicle back in the garage, and actually sit there and do a drawing, and then I'm going to have to do some cutting. So this is definitely going to take some time to do. It's not one of those things like I did on the black one, which actually turned out pretty nice. Alright, so it's going to be a little different here. Alright, this is the side that I took off. Alright, so I'm going to use this rather than ripping that one right there apart doing it. I'm going to experiment with this. On the sides, I want them to be 4 feet. Right now, this is 8 feet when it's extended. Alright, so it's going to be basically half. This design has to be there for it to be a scissor action to actually collapse. So you need to have these folded areas. So I'm going to measure these out. They're just about 4 feet, so I'm going to actually cut them basically right at the screw. Alright, then I'm going to have to drill another hole in on both sides if we're going to use both of these. I do want this end because it's a shorter end, and it'll fit into the end piece, because inside this thing it won't move, okay, inside there if it's the longer hole, like what these are. These are further from the end, so you need to have them closer to the end. Alright, so just use that as a reference if you need to cut somewhere else. So I'm going to use these two ends on the end and same thing on the other end, and then shorten everything to half to make it a half size. Now when you're cutting, you can use a sawzall, alright, and have the metal blade on, which is identical to the hacksaw. Now hacksaw is more cumbersome, okay, you have to have more control of. Sawzall, you anchor this into place, you use your protective equipment, eye protection, gloves, so on, alright, and it goes through this stuff like butter. Alright, unscrewed all the ends, keep all the hardware. Okay, you want to get these things off. They slide, you have to break them free because they've been there forever. Alright, so break them free and slide them off. You might have to take off the end caps to get them. So just pop the end caps off, especially if you have these guys on, because that side's free over there. So you can slide it off, we're going to be cutting right across there. That looks like the center. Measure it to be sure. All right, then we need to drill a hole over here. All right, that hole is going to go to the center up there, so it's going to be the same size of those, because I guarantee you on most of these, the caps like on these guys are lined up with the hole. So that distance right there has to be on target. All right, this side I have the ruler right at the end. I took the cap off so I can get a true measurement. And this side, if you look at, it's not quite 4 feet. So this is 47 inches and 3/4. 47 3/4. So you have to actually cut that in half. So you have to figure out what the half of that is. All right, so 3/4, the half looks like 3/8. If you look at this, 3/8, and then 47 you have to take in half. You'll figure it out, but do your best on it. Math, you know, is a plus. And here's something else. The cross here, the two crossing, the one going up is not the same length. So I have them lined up right there. Check this out. They're not lined up. So this guy is a little bit shorter, about 47 inches. So just remember, don't cut everything to 2 feet. All right, I switched it around to where I want to measure from the small area here at the end and bring it out here. Now the problem is the measurement for this, okay, because it's 47 3/8, okay, is coming down to, actually 3/4, it's coming down to roughly, okay, if you do it with a calculator, it's going to come up a little bit different. So I did a 23.5 and then 23 3/8. Okay, so that's the two different sizes. All right, so cutting across those, that's good. The top one doesn't look too right. I'm going to remember measure twice, cut once, just like with wood. All right, they're cut down, and nope, I didn't have to shave it or sand it down because the caps went right over them. All right, so when you get the caps on, you're going to see probably a hole in there. Don't worry about that much. You really don't want to bring that hole up against the other one, so try your best to be offset on it. Otherwise, you got to use a straight piece, something like this maybe, that has nothing on the end. Okay, so try your best just to miss that hole. Even if it's a little bit, it's going to hold it. All right, but I put pencil marks, and you can see them a little bit right there in the center. So I'm going to use a punch, and they're right there in the middle too, because that's the pivot point. All right, these guys are going to the ends. All right, and they're not the same length. Okay, these two are actually longer than these. So, and you can see them out here. What I did is I overran the 2 feet, and I overran down here about 1/8 inch on both sides, so 12 would be right in the middle, and running up the center where the pivot points, where these guys will actually be. Now, I'm using a 7/32 drill bit, and it worked just fine. So even though there's a little bit there, it's not like wood, okay? You're still going to have a lot of strength there, all right? So it's the same size there. So 7/32 drill bit for most of these. I think all of them I've done is about the same, all right? It's the same tools, same everything. So at least they're staying common in that area, but not how it's all set up. So go ahead and do all the drilling, and we're going to put this side together, and then you do the same with the other side. Now, after you put the sleeves on, okay, on the center, you need to make sure they're all the way through. Like that's good, and that one's good. But this one, you can see some weight. I might have a problem getting a screw through that, okay, because it is a really tight fit. So if that's a problem, then you need to file it down with another drill to actually get the screw all the way through, or the bolt, or whatever you want to call it. All right, as you put your first one together, keep note that where the nut goes back here, you have to have that fitting on there. All right, that black thing has to be for the nut so it holds it into place. Do your trial fit, okay, remember it goes on the outside on top, inside on the bottom, so it fits in there. And this is the first one, okay, and your next one's going to go out that way. These are almost all the way up. In fact, it's in the click, all right, so it's not going down. So this is it. All right, looking pretty good so far. A miniature one. Okay, now when you look at the original one, it's the outer one, the one towards you is on top, and the one towards you is on top. So you need to make sure the one towards you on top and the one toward is on top. So you don't bind it up. When you go to put them together, they don't get binded. All right, don't forget that you got to have that Teflon washer, the small thin one on the outside. and a thick one between the two poles. If you forget that, the bushing won't be there and it won't move very smooth. And the other side, you put a thin one on before you put the nut on. Guys, this is what you want. Okay, nice and smooth. If you over tighten it, you got to loosen them. As long as the bolt is through the lock nut, it's going to hold. Okay, so nice and smooth. It's pretty good on both ends. You want the narrow ones, the small ones on the ends. It's going to fit in perfectly. So that's going to be a miniature one. For the 6 foot, when it's all the way out like that, it's about 4 feet, I think, because I cut it in half. So this is a 4, the back's going to be 8, and the sides are going to be a 4 foot. Because I figure that if I take 8 foot, turn it down to 6 foot, my 6 foot table's not even going to fit in there. It'll be too snug, nobody will be able to get into my booth. So you got to make it 8 foot so you have 2 feet for people to get in. So, hey, hopefully that'll work out. Anyway, I'll show you when I'm all done putting it together now, I'll show it to you when it's finished. Alright, a little pain here, but I learned as I went along. See how it's closed up like that? The top is taller. I got that idea from this right here. The top is taller. Over here, the top is taller. So right here, the top is down there. It needs to be up top. This top part has to be taller. This won't close up all the way because of that. So I have to take this back apart and actually make it like this one over here. So from this point on, the 2 taller ones have to be together and on top for it to work. Alrighty, now it's been a couple of days since I finished this, so I'm continuing now. Something that really discouraged me is that you can't take 4 foot long pieces and work them with 2 foot long pieces on the side. This guy's not going to move up and down. It'll move up to store the sides, but not the back. So you have to take this screw out. It's the easiest one because this one here stays in there. If it doesn't stay in there, you can actually put this through, put some Gorilla Glue in there to hold that nut inside that. There's a nut down inside there that this screws into. You need a little 57 screw, a bit, a hex pick to take it out. When you're assembling this, remember this part here goes on the inside, on top. Alright, and then on the other side of this long 8 foot piece, it's going to go on the outside here. Alright, if you took this off. You got to remember that. Alright, on both of your inner sides, I'm hoping you can see it. The little 4 foot extensions are going to mount on the inside. That's the only way this is going to work. Alright, they do toe in a little bit, as you see on the bottom. They're toed in a little bit on both sides. That's okay, you got stability. When you collapse this, obviously this is collapsed because it's 2 foot. 4 foot's not going to collapse. You need to take this screw out. It's the easiest one. The nut in there on this model stays there, but on my black one, you have to put some Gorilla Glue in there to hold that nut in place. And then you can take this guy out and put it in. So this one right here, I have to take out. Alright, find a tool that's going to work in these. You just spin it out. It releases. You pop the screw out and you put it in. It might take a little bit for me to do this because I don't know how deep it is. And I can't get my nail around that. Alright, and then you have to fit this in there. I can't do that while I'm on the camera because I don't have a tripod with me and the lighting's not that great. I like it when it's lighting. So just work this part in there, and once it's in, you can extend the other parts and it'll work for you. So you might need somebody or a wall to hold one end up. It is a little flimsy, but it works great. And I'm going to show you how to put a display curtain on it. And there it is. Now keep it easy for yourself. When you pull the screw out and you line this up, look inside to line up the hole. Put it in there. Don't have a heartache about it. Don't get upset. Have patience. It takes a lot of patience. We're doing craft shows anyway. So, play some music in your ears if you want while you're doing it. Oh, there it is. Like I said, it's towed in a little bit, which is okay. If you try moving it out, it's just going to go right back in. Alright, so don't worry about that. It gives a lot of stability. Alright, it's actually leaning out on both sides, so that's not going to fall down on anybody. Alright, if somebody says something about it, ask them to see if they can do better. It's at its low state right now, means the bottom legs are not extended. Okay, so I'm going to actually put a display on this. And remember, your tool that you have, that you use to assemble this tool, whatever tool you use to assemble the 2 screws, has to stay with this unit from now on. You do not want to get on site, go to put this up, and you don't have the tool to tighten that screw down. So you need to have this with you with any time that you go. So I'm going to actually make a case out of the old canopy top to my black one that I'm not using anymore. It's actually in that silver bag back there. All right, so I'm going to take that out and actually make a case probably for that one. And if I have any left over, I'll make one for this one. All right, so this is my 8x4. That's my 10x6. And that's my 10x10 with an over leaf on top of 1 foot. All right, so I'm going to use deer net, the orange deer net, to make a curtain to go all the way around. So there's a deer net that actually fits pretty good. On the bottom it's not connected. Over there is a big gap. But you know, when I tie this back to here and put some tension on it, it's going to be like a wall. Air can flow through this, and you can, if you're hanging things, you can hang things on both sides. Really cheap stuff. So you can use Velcro straps or whatever. I wouldn't use tie straps, because tie straps you have to cut off. And you're going to go through an expense of tie straps and have to have a pair of scissors or dikes to cut those off. So you can Velcro right here and Velcro right there, Velcro down here if you want, and hang things on both sides. So when I debut this, I may actually make another video to show you how it all sets up. So I'm going to, so this is it. All you have to do is extend the legs, tie this into place, and you are ready to go. Hey, subscribe, see a whole lot more videos. Hopefully this helps you out, gives you an idea if you're doing craft shows.